What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, it's Thursday evening, February 16th. It's the last night of regular season basketball before the All-Star break. So we have about a week off. We'll get into a screen share here. And basically, I kind of just want to go through some of the top pickups for the week and kind of answer any questions you guys may have. We'll kind of keep this quick and short and to the point. But essentially, I just want to kind of find some hidden gems, guys that we should be holding, for the other side of the All-Star break, and we'll just kind of go with that. So here we go. We are looking at, as I filtered this here, I have it filtered by all players here. We're going to tap the last 7 days to see who's been hot. Let's hit average here. And essentially what I want to do is I want to see who's sticking out here. So, I mean, Aaron Gordon's been the last 7 days, he's got the most fantasy points here. It looks like he had a 61.5 point game. So he definitely sticks out. He's a must roster player in shorter leagues, but 80% rostered, he's probably picked up. But essentially, I'm just looking at the percent roster tab, and I'm looking for anybody that sticks out, because hundreds and 99.9s, yeah, these guys are all must owned and already rostered players. But let's take a look and see who the first one to trip the sensors is. There's Derek White at about 67%. He's probably already picked up, but he's been benefiting with no Jaylen Brown in the lineup. And I think Brown should be fine after the All-Star break. That should give him a couple weeks to heal. Marcus Smart as well, playing well with no Jaylen Brown. 76.4% rostered. Let's keep moving down till we find someone that sticks out. There we go. The first one, Josh Okogie here. And as long as, I covered him on my waiver wire show. As long as Kevin Durant remains out, it sounds like Durant was able to practice this week. He's got a good chance of returning after the All-Star break, but we'll see. But man, as long as Durant's out, look at what Okogie's been doing these last 3 nights here. 39 minutes, 35, and 32 minutes. Really good scorer, 19, 17, and 25. He's going to get rebounds. He'll get assists. And I like the added, stuff on the defensive side here with steals and the occasional block. But really solid fantasy numbers here. That he's playing tonight against the Clippers. He'll have one more night of, starting relevance here. But we'll have to watch. I think post-All-Star break, you might see Kevin Durant come back. But any night that Durant is out, or if they're going to take it easy with Durant on back-to-backs, or if you see Devin Booker out for a night, keep an eye on Josh Okogie. He's only 10% rostered, and he needs to be picked up and played while he's getting these big minutes. So good evening to you, Justin. Hope you're doing well, my man. Milwaukee's getting hit with 10 inches of snow, so it's kind of a weird snowed-in day over here. And we'll get to Wiseman in a second. I just added him to my watch list. He played in his first game, I think, last night. So we'll get to Wiseman at some point here because I'm going to probably rifle through some of the teams. But for now, I'm just identifying top players who need to be rostered here. Markelle Fultz, he's 50% rostered, but he needs to be picked up. Kelly Olynyk's another guy here for the Utah Jazz, and he missed some time in December and January, but he's back into the starting rotation, and his minutes are starting to perk up here. 37 and 31 the last couple nights, 28 points, 18 points, double-digit rebounds, steals, assists. It's all looking really good here for Kelly Olynyk, who's getting a starter's workload, and he's actually playing better than his season stats indicate. On the year, he was averaging 25 fantasy points per game, but over the last 7 nights, 35 fantasy points per game. So if you're playing in a 10-man league and Kelly Olynyk's available, please scoop him up. The next guy here, oh man, we dropped Olynyk. Yeah, it's tough. Fantasy basketball, you drop a guy for a couple nights and someone's going to grab him pretty quickly. But let's talk about Kevon Looney here, because he is, I like these Warriors uniforms, by the way. They're pretty sick. But he's been playing his best basketball of his career, and sometimes his minutes fluctuate, but for the most part here, he's kind of settled into upper 20s, maybe mid 20s to upper 20 minutes per game. He gets double doubles the last couple nights here. Assists, steals, blocks are in his range of outcomes. And his last 3 games, 34, 36, and 34 fantasy points. Dude's only 17% rostered, and he's got 2 positions of eligibility. I really like what he can do. He's consistent on a nightly basis for the most part. Sure, he's got a 10-point game in here. I'm not sure what happened in that Portland game, but a bad night for him. It's going to be 19, 20 fantasy points. So I think Looney's definitely a guy you can add in shorter leagues. And yeah, that really opened things up for the guys in Utah, whether it's Walker Kessler or Kelly Olynyk. And I'm sure we're going to get to one of my favorite pickups, Talen Horton-Tucker, too, for Utah. I actually had to drop Talen Horton-Tucker today to get Kuzma pulled up from my IR, but I like THT quite a bit. But let's keep moving down here. There's Jalen Williams. This is a guy here who's getting more hype as the season goes on. He's got the 2 and 3 position eligible here, averaging 25 points per game on the year. His last 7 nights, though, he's up to 33.8. His season stats, he's compared to, so his last 7 days compared to his season stats, he's up about 2 minutes per game. Scoring's up about 4 points. He's up a rebound, up an assist, up a steal. Blocks are not that important for him, but man, he's playing really good ball the last 4 nights here. You see the minutes are up, the rebounds are there, the assists are there, the steals. He had one game with 6 steals, 50.4-point game. So just look at his last 5 numbers: 21, 44, 34, 54, and 26. He's been playing fantastic, and as long as he's going to maintain starting minutes, this is the guy that is must start going forward. And 30% rostered, he might not be available in 12-man leagues, but definitely check for 10-man leagues. He should be a guy that gets a lot of work for the rest of the season. Here's Zach Collins, who benefited from the trade of Jakob Poeltl here. And this dude, the last 4 nights here, pretty much after the trade, he's been flirting with almost double-doubles. He's got 2 double-doubles in this time span. He's going to get assists, he'll get you steals, and he'll get you the occasional block or two. But his last 4 nights, 36 points, 32, 20, and 44. 10%, not even 10% rostered. This is a guy here who is going to continue to be starting in a huge piece of the Spurs going forward. So he's had trouble staying healthy for most of his career, but as long as he's healthy, he is a must-add player in fantasy basketball right now, 10, 12-man leagues. And he might even be available in your 12-man league. And he's seen a big spike in pickups the last 7 nights here. Cole Anthony playing well, but he's 38.9% rostered. Jabari Smith Jr., 34% roster, but he's playing well. And then here we go. Here's the Utah Jazz, Talon Horton-Tucker, really playing nicely. I mean, he missed a little bit of time here in February, but he comes into the lineup kind of post NBA trade deadline, and his last 5 nights have been fantastic. 27 points, 31, 40, 20, and 36. Last night, there was an injury to Colin Sexton. I think Sexton only played 4 minutes, and THT comes in and pretty much stepped in for Sexton minute for minute, and he ends up putting up 36 fantasy points, 15 points, 7 boards, and 7 assists. Dude's been averaging 7 assists for the last 5 games, so we'll see. He's kind of their 6th man right now. If Sexton remains out with that hamstring after the All-Star break, you got something here. So Utah Jazz, 5.7% rostered. He's probably my favorite pickup at the moment right now. And unfortunately, I had to cut him to free up some space on my IR. But THT, definitely one of the best pickups in fantasy basketball right now. There's Jalen Duren, who he's going to continue to play. But I guess let's look at this game here, because our man Justin mentioned Wiseman being a good pickup here, who we'll look at in a bit. But let me just kind of zoom in here to the numbers. So they still started Duren last night, 25 minutes for him, 24 for Wiseman. They both so equal minutes basically. Duren only gets 3 shot attempts, Wiseman gets 9, and then the rebounds, 5 total rebounds for Wiseman, 8 for Duren. 1 assist for Duren, and nothing else. So kind of a bad game for him with his minutes. But Wiseman, pretty productive. He comes in 24 minutes, 5 rebounds, 11 points. No other stats, which is disappointing. But he did play well enough to consider adding in future leagues. And especially in 12-man leagues, I think he's probably a guy that has some room to be added here. Let me see if I can find any other guys that are worth mentioning. Mark Williams, of course, benefiting from no Mason Plumlee in Charlotte. He's only 11% rostered. He needs to be added. He's averaging 30.6 points per game since the trade deadline. There's Malachi Branham here. And I know it's the Spurs. It's not a super fun team, but I like to follow the minutes, and he's been getting a ton of minutes since February 1st. You see, basically, in his last 7 day stats compared to his season stats, you're getting 33 minutes compared to 22. So he's up 11 minutes per game. His scoring's up about 10 points per game. Rebounds have doubled. Assists are about the same. Steals have almost tripled here, and blocks have tripled as well. So this is a player here, young talent. He's going to get more work as the Spurs season don't really have much to play for. He's going to get a lot of action here. So I do like Malachi Branham here quite a bit. Only 4% rostered as well, so pick him up if you can get him. Devontae Graham, another player for the Spurs. So this is the 3rd player from the Spurs that we've looked at who's got a lot of potential for the rest of the season. Was not getting enough playtime with the Pelicans. You can see his minutes up per game here. He's up 12 minutes per game. His scoring is almost tripled. Rebounds have doubled. Assists have doubled. Steals have doubled. Blocks have doubled. Everything's looking really good here for Devontae Graham, who's probably going to settle into around 30 fantasy points per game for the rest of the year. So I like what I'm seeing here with Devontae Graham. Again, only 8.8% rostered. Must pick up. Josh Richardson, 7.4% rostered for the Pelicans. 29 points per game over the last 7 days. Good pickup there. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, guys. I don't know why he's so low owned. He's been one of my favorite players on my roster. 16.3% rostered, and especially with no. Lately, they've been playing without Jamal Murray, and you see Kentavious Caldwell-Pope putting up some really nice numbers: 21, 23, 30, 23, 35. And what I really like about him is the dude's going to touch 5 categories almost every night. He's been on a little blocking spree here, 5 blocks in his last 3 games, but for sure he's going to get you 4 categories every night. Of course, he'll have these nights where he pops off in the scoring department, but a bad game from him is going to be like this Miami or this Orlando game where he still gets you 23 fantasy points. So KCP, a must roster player for me in 12-man leagues. Cameron Johnson, another player here who needs to be picked up. Kyle Anderson, another player. Shaden Sharp, I was looking at him all day because he's available in my 12-man league. He's 3.3% rostered, and we just saw one of the injuries over there. I think it was Inferne Simons who got hurt. But this is a guy here who has seen an uptick in minutes the last 7 days compared to his season stats. He's up about 7 minutes per game. His points have almost doubled. Rebounds are about 3. Assists have gone through the roof here. He was at 0.6. Now he's at 2.7. So that's almost a 4 or 5x there. Steals have gone up a good amount as well as blocks. So I like what I'm seeing here. 4 straight games of double-digit scoring. He'll touch rebounds and assists, and he'll get the steals as well as the occasional block here. So I'm not quite sure what's up with Simons here. Let's start to look at some of the individual teams. So let's see. So Simons, he's got an MRI today, a grade 2 strain, saying it didn't look awesome. He's going to be unavailable. I saw he got pulled from the 3-point contest, so no timetable yet. So that's going to make Shaden Sharp here probably a pretty good pickup and hold through the All-Star weekend here, because I would assume Simons is not going to be ready to go by next Thursday when basketball resumes. And if this guy gets, I mean, if you're going to give him, upper 20 minutes, like look at these last 3 nights here, 28, 26, and 29 minutes. Good things can happen. I think on the low end, you're going to get 17. You can probably bank on a high 20 or 30-point fantasy game here from Shaden Sharp. So try and find him if you can. Otherwise, let's go look at that. I want to look at the Detroit Pistons. And let's just take a peek here at James Wiseman. He's only 12.7% rostered. He did score 17 fantasy points last night. Didn't really get any other stats here besides points and rebounds, which is fine. But his first game, it's a pretty nice, encouraging stat line here. I think in 12-man leagues, he's more rosterable. Very concerning, though, for Duren, who his last 2 games, 12 and 11 points, coming off a massive game here against the Spurs where he puts up 30 and 17, 4 blocks, 71 fantasy points here. I'm not sure we're going to see a minute spike like that going forward. He's probably going to settle into that 25 minutes per game range there. So we'll see about what happens there. But otherwise, I wanted to let's just kind of tap through some of these teams and see what's going on here. What's going on in Atlanta? DeAndre Hunter probably needs to be picked up. He's a starter for the Hawks. He's 3 and 4 eligible here. He's 19% rostered, averaging 30 fantasy points a game his last 5 days. Okongwu, another guy here. I think in 12-man leagues he should be rostered. 16.5% rostered. And I know his minutes and stuff are he's kind of hovering around 20 some minutes per game here. His floor is 14 to 16 fantasy points, but he does have, some mid-20s and some 30s in his range of outcomes. I think he should be picked up as well. What's going on with John Collins here? Head evaluation, nothing to be concerned about, I guess. Sadiq Bey, he's got 2 games here, not looking super good for fantasy. He's got a high percent rostered here, so hopefully he gets more included after the All-Star break, because he was playing really great before for the Pistons. So hopefully he can get in to the rotation a little bit more with the Hawks. But hold on to Sadiq Bey. Not sure what's going on with Bogdan here. Bogdan remains a hold, I guess, through the All-Star break. So the Atlanta Hawks will cover them. Let's click on the Brooklyn Nets. And Mikal Bridges, dude, puts up 45 points last night, 70 fantasy points. just impressive game. He did have a dud against the Knicks, but he played pretty well against the Sixers. So it looks really, really good here for McCall Bridges being the he's the guy now. Cameron Johnson again remains a pickup. Cam Thomas remains a hold. His numbers are going to fluctuate. You can see his minutes the last 3 nights here since they started playing their new acquired pieces. About 20 minutes per game here. His scoring is going to be inconsistent. He doesn't really chip in a lot with the points or with the rebounds, assists. So you're probably looking at this weird range of outcomes where hopefully he can settle in around 18, 20 fantasy points per game, but he remains a hold for now. Let's see here. Nobody else really for fantasy besides those guys. Let's take a look at Boston. And Boston's been kind of taking it easy. They've had a lot of injuries. Mike Muscala had a big game the other night. 44 minutes against Milwaukee, 18 points, 8 rebounds. Probably going to be more in that upper teens to 20 minutes per game here. So I don't think he's an ad at the moment. You have, again, we have Jaylen Brown not playing. So that's going to open up some minutes for some guys here. Otherwise, Tatum, White, Smart, Brogdon, Horford are must own, as well as Robert Williams. Grant Williams can be a guy that you pick up like for a night or two. He's had a nice little turn of events the last 5 games here, but he's probably not rosterable in deeper leagues. But Sam Hauser has been playing well instead of Jaylen Brown, so he's had a nice run here the last couple weeks. Keep an eye on Sam Hauser. We'll just tap interested and see if he gets dropped anywhere. Let's take a look at Charlotte real quick. Charlotte's kind of spiraling down the lane here. They only have 4 guys that are worth a dang. I guess Mark Williams would be the 5th here. So LaMelo, Rozier, PJ, Gordon Hayward, and Mark Williams. These are the most owned players here. But it looks like Dennis Smith Jr., 13% rostered, playing pretty well. He's had a couple games in the 30s, 20s, high teens guy. I think in 12-man leagues, he's worth a spot. His minutes have been up. So you like that, but he's not a must-own player, but he's kind of the end of the bench guy here. When will we get Kelly Oubre back? Okay. So it looks like we might get Kelly Oubre back after the All-Star break, maybe in March. We'll see, but continue to – I mean, he's 61% rostered, so people are rightfully hanging on to him. If he gets back into the mix here, or if he's available in your league, please scoop him up because he's going to be a nice piece for them when they return after the All-Star break. The Bulls – DeMar DeRozan not playing, quadriceps. He's going to play in the All-Star game, though, so he's fine. But Levine, Vucevic, DeRozan, Toby White's been playing decently here. He's honestly, like, they don't have a lot of guys here for fantasy that we care about. It's mostly the top 3. But Kobe White, Patrick Williams, and Ayo Dosunmu, these are guys that have random nights here, but it doesn't look too great for the Bulls. I'm not seeing if they're missing anybody else here. Javonte Green not playing. But Levine, Vucevic, and DeRozan must-own players. Kobe White, I don't know if I trust it in a 12-man league. Maybe for a night if you need somebody here, but doesn't look very good here for Chicago. Let's move on to Cleveland. Cleveland, man, with Kevin Love, the buyout coming, looks like their top 4 guys, Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, and Garland, are the studs here. After that, I mean, Ricky Rubio, I don't know if I trust. He plays well when he gets the minutes, but he's going to miss a lot of games. So I don't know if he's an own in 12-man leagues. Karis LeVert, though, he should be rostered. He's been kind of frustrating this year. His last couple games have not been great, but he does have that ability to put up some 30-point fantasy nights. So hold on to LeVert. And then after that, it's pretty bleak here. So yeah, it looks like just the top 4 guys for the Cleveland Cavs. The Dallas Mavericks, Luka, Kyrie, Christian Wood, seeing a spike back in his minutes here the last couple games here, 22 and 23. I would love to see him get back up to 27 minutes per game, but as long as he continues playing, he's a hold. 85% roster, you're not going to get rid of him. Tim Hardaway remains must roster in 12-man leagues. And then Josh Green, who saw a nice little run here with his minutes, but I don't know what happened the other night, only 29 minutes against the Nuggets. But he's like in 12-man leagues, you got to hold on to him. I know he was only 4 points the other night, but he does have a lot of potential. A lot of maybe on games where there's a starter missing. Maybe Josh Green's a pickup here. Reggie Bullock is decent. He's going to get a ton of minutes. Not so great the last couple games here, but he did have a nice run. He's easily the Mavericks' best defender. So if you need someone for a night, I don't mind adding Reggie Bullock. And then Dwight Powell not getting enough starter minutes here to be relevant. So kind of just a top-heavy team here. The Nuggets, they have been without Jamal Murray the last few nights, but Aaron Gordon, Jokic, KCP, and Michael Porter Jr. remain must owned players here. Bruce Brown, 25% owned. I think this should be a little bit more. He's kind of in the background here, but he plays a ton of minutes. He's kind of like KCP, where his scoring will be hot for a couple nights. Rebounds, assists, steals are all in his repertoire here. So I like Bruce Brown. Other than that, Jeff Green, Kankar, there's really not too many other players here. So just stick with the top six. The Pistons, we covered them. Golden State's an interesting team here. Jordan Poole's been on fire lately, but you got over the last 7 days, like Poole, Looney, and Wiggins are the top three players. All three must-own players, I think. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, of course, must-own. And that's pretty much it. Like DiVincenzo's nice. I think someone cut him in my league this morning. He's a high minute guy. His scoring is usually over double digits, rebounds, assists, steals, and the occasional block. So I like DiVincenzo in 12-man league. So they kind of have about 6 players here. Kuminga is kind of hot and cold. Hasn't really had a good game in a while here. But if anyone's missing from the starting lineup, maybe Kuminga is a guy worth adding for a night. But do we have any news here on Curry? He's going to remain sidelined for the first All-Star break. He's going to miss a few more contests beyond that. So maybe not till March. We'll see on Steph Curry. As long as he's out, continue to roster the top-owned guys here for the Warriors. Houston, let's see, Jabari Smith, 34% rostered, and he's averaging 32.6 points per game. He's been their best player. Jalen Green's rostered. Kenyon Martin Jr. needs to be rostered as well. He's about 17% rostered, and he's only getting 26 points per game over the last 7 days. Sengun kind of on a cold streak here, only 24 points per game over his last 7 days. But that's the top 4 here. I do like Tari Eason, who's kind of hot and cold. He did have a really nice run at the end of January, early February, but he's kind of cooled off a little bit here. His minutes are kind of down, but if he starts to get back into the mid-20s and sometimes 30 minutes per game, he's going to be a better player. But for now, he's kind of a fringe-owned player, and that's pretty much it for the Houston Rockets here. Not sure what's going on. Let's see here. Maybe we get KPJ back after the All-Star break. So keep an eye out for him. We'll see if he can get back into the mix. The Indiana Pacers, of course, Tyrese Halliburton, the best player here on the team. Miles Turner having a great year. Buddy Hield having a great year. Benedict Mathurin here, though. Only 50% rostered, and he's averaging 27.5 points per game. After that, it's kind of like Naismith and Daniel Tice, like Isaiah Jackson. They have this weird rotation at the 5 spot that I don't really trust. So I think you're just going to stick with the top 4 guys here. If there is any injuries, we like Duarte, we like McConnell, we like Nemhard. But these guys are harder to own in 12-team leagues. So for now, just stick with the top 4 guys there for the Pacers. The Clippers. I think the Clippers were one of the biggest winners on the trade deadline. I mean, for them to add Eric Gordon and Mason Plumlee, as well as Bones Highland, like these are 3 big pieces to the rotation, and they're pretty deep. You can see over the last 7 days, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys averaging more than 20 fantasy points per game, and Zubac is right there at 19.5. Bones Highland, 17.8. So there's a lot of nice pieces here on the Clippers. Terrence Mann remain, like they're playing tonight, so we'll get more data points here. But Terrence Mann, Eric Gordon, these guys are both under 10% rostered. They need to be picked up. Maybe even Covington, who maybe not Covington. He's too untrustworthy with his minutes and his availability here. But for sure, hold on to Zubac here. Bones Highland might be a guy that's worth holding on to. He didn't get a lot of minutes, 16 minutes, but he gets 17.75 fantasy points per game. So keep an eye on Bones Highland. Let's look at the Lakers. Excited to see the Lakers post All-Star break here. You got Davis, LeBron, Russell, must-own players here. But after that, like Dennis Schroeder, 28% rostered, averaging 26 points per game. Jared Vanderbilt, 27.6% rostered and averaging 24 points per game. These are the 2 guys here that might be available in a 10-man league. Other than that, like Hachimura, Troy Brown. We'll see about Mo Bamba. He's gotten 1 game here. Hopefully he can get more involved in the offense. But definitely keep an eye on Hachimura, Brown, and Bamba for the rest of the way after the All-Star break. The Memphis Grizz. Of course, John Morant, Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bane already rostered here. Brandon Clark had a big game the other night. Blows up for 47 fantasy points with 4 steals and 3 blocks. 48% rostered. He remains must own. I think we're waiting to see what's up with Steven Adams here. So maybe after the All-Star break, we get Steven Adams back. That's going to lower Tillman and Brandon Clark's numbers Santi Aldama here has been playing well, a couple games of 20 fantasy points here. So keep an eye on these guys. I think after the All-Star break, though, you're going to get Steven Adams back. That's going to kind of muddy some of these guys here. So just stick with the top three: Brandon Clark, Santi Aldama, and then Dylan Brooks, of course, remains a must-own. He's just getting brought back into the fold here. Hasn't been playing well, though, since about the end of January. He hasn't really been playing well. So in 12-man league, he might be a little bit tougher of a hold. Miami Heat, I heard they might be buyers of Kevin Love. But anyways, they have three guys that are must-own players: Adebayo, Butler, and Tyler Hero. After that, Max Strus, only 8% rostered, averaging 26 fantasy points per game. Gabe Vincent, playing well with no Kyle Lowry right now. He is averaging 24 points per game, only 2% rostered. Caleb Martin playing well as well, 4.4% rostered, 22 fantasy points per game. Not sure what's up with Oladipo. He might be good to go after the All-Star break. So if you can hold on to Oladipo, after the All-Star break, I would totally do so, because he's probably going to be back into the fold. He was averaging 24 points per game. I think I'm going to add him after the show, actually. And then Kyle Lowry, with the knee injury, he has been struggling. So he's kind of like a fringe roster player right now. So I would say Gabe Vincent, man, probably a pretty nice pickup right now for the Heat. Milwaukee Bucks, nothing really changing over here. You have Giannis, Drew, Middleton, and Lopez playing great ball. Bobby Portis, maybe he's back after the All-Star break. Yeah, so I would expect Bobby Portis to be back after the All-Star break. Please pick him up if someone dropped him. But after that, like Connaughton, Ingles, Grayson Allen, Beauchamp, these guys are all like players that you can maybe add for a night or two if you need someone to fill your starting lineup. The Minnesota Timberwolves, I mean, they got five guys averaging more than 20 fantasy points here. And Kyle Anderson, I don't know why he's under 12% rostered here, but he's playing really good, 28 fantasy points per game here. Jaden McDaniels, also another guy, 25% rostered, averaging about 23 fantasy points per game over the last 5 nights. That's pretty much it for these guys. Are we getting Karl-Anthony Towns back soon? He'll be ready to return to court at some point during their final 10 to 15 games. So probably not going to be anytime soon here, maybe not till April. So unfortunately, no Karl-Anthony Towns until the final end of the couple weeks here. Let's move on to the Pelicans. What's the Zion update? He aggravated his right hamstring and will be silent for several more weeks. This happened on Sunday here, so no real timetable here. This is disappointing. He's going to be hopefully we get some more news over the All-Star break, but for now, don't expect Zion back, I guess, until maybe March, some point there. So Josh Richardson, 7.4% rostered. He needs to be picked up. Willie Hernan-Gomez, he's hard to trust because he doesn't play every night here, but when he's going to play or start, he's a must-add player for the evening. Herbert Jones, a good player to snag here, as well as Larry Nance Jr. After that, these guys are all kind of tough to pick up. Let's look at the New York Knicks. Brunson and Julius Randle, of course, must own. Josh Hart playing well with his new team. Emmanuel quickly remains to be a hold. He's under 16% rostered, and he's playing well. Isaiah Hartenstein also playing pretty well, too. Only 4.5% rostered, averaging almost 25 points per game. RJ Barrett, you're holding on to him. Grimes, Sims, all these guys are kind of out. Mitchell Robinson, let's see. He'll be sidelined for 4 more weeks. So maybe Mitchell Robinson comes back in the beginning of March. So for now, Hartenstein remains a nice add here. He's a guy that has been pretty solid with his minutes since Robinson left the lineup. He's a really good rebounder, doesn't score a lot. He'll get you blocks and rebounds, though. So I like the fantasy production here for Hartenstein. Probably a guy that you want to pick up there to hold on to for the next 3-4 weeks. OKC Thunder, you got SGA playing lights out. Jalen Williams, though, again, we mentioned him at the beginning of the show. 31% rostered, and he's averaging 33.8 points per game. Josh Giddey's already rostered. Lou Dort should be picked up, and then after that, it's not really interesting here. Are they getting Pokuševski back anytime soon? Spot on the court doing some light shooting, but he's going to extend into March. So no Poku back yet for the Thunder. Orlando Magic. This one's interesting. I mean, these guys are all kind of all over the place. Banchero's already rostered, so is Franz Wagner. But Markelle Fultz, 50% rostered. He's their best player for fantasy. Cole Anthony playing really well too. 39% rostered, averaging 33 points per game. Wendell Carter Jr., must-own player. Jalen Suggs playing better. He's starting to see some minutes increase here. Points are increasing. Still going to be boom and bust, though. You see a 7 and a 4 in here in a couple 30-point games. So he's going to be kind of frustrating to roster. Keep an eye on Moritz Wagner as well. He's the guy that was playing really well for them before his absence and that crazy punching situation. But he does have the potential to put up 20 to 30 fantasy points per game on any given night. So keep an eye on Wagner. After that, we'll kind of stay away here. Jonathan Isaac, not really happening for him. Philadelphia. This one's tough. They only have 4 guys here worth the dang: Tobias, Maxey, Harden, and Embiid. After that, I thought Jalen McDaniels would be more involved. Not really coming into fruition here, so he's kind of a downgrade situation from his Hornets spot. So it's really just the top 4 guys here for the Sixers. The Phoenix Suns, we talked about Josh Okogie at the top of the show. After that, Torrey Craig's been playing decently. Ish Wainwright, Damian Lee, these guys are fringe guys for a night or two if you need somebody. Not sure what's going on with Kevin Durant. It sounds like maybe after the All-Star break, but again, he's probably going to miss back-to-backs. And then Cameron Payne, he's going to be reevaluated after the All-Star break, and that's about it. So it's all waiting on Kevin Durant here, but for now, continue to add Josh Okogie and use him. The Trailblazers, we mentioned Shaedon Sharpe, a must pick up here while Simons is hurt. Drew Eubanks is playing well. I don't know why he's only 2% rostered, but he has seen a nice little run here, 20 points in his last 5 games. Let's see. He's only 2% rostered. Shaedon Sharpe only 3% rostered. Matisse Thybulle, really good with the steals and the blocks. 2 nice games here. I think in a 12-man league, that's probably raw. Like his minutes, man, 30 and 26. I like that a lot. If he's going to continue to play that much, he's probably a must-own player for the rest of the season. Cam Reddish, also another guy here who put up 33 minutes last night. They're going to rely on him for his scoring, 23 fantasy points here. So we'll keep an eye on some of these guys. So there might be some more fantasy relevance here from the Trailblazers. So the left calf strain here for the Nurkic, he's going to be reevaluated after the All-Star break here. So for now, continue to use Eubanks, Sharpe, Thybulle. Maybe think about Cam Reddish. There's some juice here on the Trailblazers. We kind of mentioned a lot of the Spurs in the beginning of the show, but Zach Collins needs to be picked up. Branham, Devontae Graham, Sohan, and yeah, that's about it. So it's an ugly ugly lineup here for the Spurs, but there's some juice there to get for fantasy. On the Kings, of course, Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox playing well, Kevin Huerter playing well. Terrence Davis, only 0.6% rostered here, but he had a big game the other night. He's going to need more minutes for us to care about him for fantasy. He's been playing because of Malik Monk's missed the last couple nights here. So Monk is a guy that when he's healthy, like he's the guy that you want in 12-man leagues. Harrison Barnes continue to hold him. Nobody they're missing on the IR situation. So it's looking good for the Kings. The Raptors here, of course, Siakam, Trent, Van Vliet, Scotty Barnes, and then Jakob Poeltl. These guys playing fantastically. They're getting a ton of fantasy points. Precious Achiuwa here continues to play really well. Kind of a walking double-double for the most part here. His minutes are peaking at 33, 34. He's a must-own player, only 13% rostered. I don't know why he's so low. And then Boucher here. I don't know why Boucher is 42% rostered and Achiuwa is only 13. That doesn't make any sense. But after that, we'll see about OG Anunoby. He's out with a wrist injury. Hopefully he can come back after the All-Star break here. But yeah, nice top 6 here for the Raptors. Utah, we already kind of covered Utah here, but Markkanen, must roster player Jordan Clarkson as well as Colin Sexton. But Olynyk, please take a look at him. Look at THT. Look at Walker Kessler. And then Toscano Anderson, I don't know if he's going to have any mainstay here, but he has one good game, 25 minutes, 22 fantasy points. We'll tap the interested button on one. And then let's finish up with the Washington Wizards. Kuzma, back from his little ankle injury. Porzingis, Bradley Beal, these guys are all must-own players. Monte Morris has been playing well. After that, DeLon Wright, Kendrick Nunn, Daniel Gafford, these guys are all about 20 minutes per game. Same with Avdia here. So, like, if you need someone for a night or two, DeLon, Nunn, Gafford, and Avdia, both all playing well enough here. They're not expected to lose their spots for minutes here. So I do like the Wizards quite a bit. But that's it. That's going to do it for tonight's show. We'll be back next week with my guys, John and Drake, for a live kind of mid-season award show. So hopefully you guys learned something. Enjoy the All-Star Game weekend. Take it easy. Enjoy the weekend and stay safe, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.